Okay, hello. So I am here to explain you regarding the metabolism in biological field which we study in biochemistry. First of all, metabolism, which includes the concept of anabolism, means formation of molecule. Any molecule formation comes under the study of anabolism and catabolism. Breakdown. Every individual, every organism shows metabolism in that organism catabolism and anabolism goes on simultaneously. Today we are going to focus upon catabolism. Okay, so I was saying catabolism is most important with respect to the organisms which are dependent upon other organisms, such as we are heterotrophic organism, we are dependent upon plants or other animals for our energy purpose. The energy derived from catabolism process is must and important to understand in order to understand biochemistry completely. So catabolism can be understood by process such as glycolysis. Why glycolysis? Because the glycolysis is something which is known as principal metabolic pathway which is carried out by every organism on this planet. There is no exception for glycolysis in any organism. Means on this planet you will never find an organism who is not showing glycolysis. Glycolysis is principal metabolic pathway, whatever I have written here. Whatever we can study about glycolysis comes under catabolism process. So here I am going to focus mainly upon catabolism, means breakdown of molecule, in which there are various reactions we have to highlight first. So glycolysis is always followed by the TCA cycle. For TCA cycle, the result of glycolysis is acting as precursor. Means whatever is produced in glycolysis reaction is used in TCA cycle. And both these reactions produces some output. That output is then useful for electron transport chain. So you have to understand this electron transport chain is dependent upon glycolysis and TCA. TCA cycle is known as tris carboxylic acid cycle, or it is also known as citric acid cycle. It is also known as Krebs cycle. Why? Because scientists Krebs demonstrated about the TCA cycle. So first of all, you have to understand why glycolysis is so important, because without glycolysis you cannot operate TCA cycle. Unless and until there is no TCA cycle, you cannot have electron transport chain. This electron transport chain will help to generate ATP, which are the ultimate packet of energy which is used by every organism for every activity. Unless and until there are no ATP, you cannot even blink your eyelid. Please try to understand this. In order to move this hand, I will have to use ATP. Muscles are utilizing ATP, muscles are utilizing ATP for eyelid, muscles are utilizing ATP for lip movement. Everything is dependent upon this ATP. In order to form ATP, you have two reactions. One is surface level phosphorylation is one way by which ATP are produced, and another way is oxidative phosphorylation. Try to understand this is very important. In order to, why we are studying about metabolism, in which catabolism, the answer is very simple. we are trying to find out the answer why ATP are produced. If you know ATP are required everywhere, and listen, in one sentence I can say ATP is nothing but the proof that organism is living organism. Organism who do not able to produce ATP is dead organism. So ATP can be produced in organism by two ways. That's I am saying here. Which are these two ways? One is surface level phosphorylation and another is oxidative phosphorylation. What do you mean by surface level phosphorylation and oxidative phosphorylation? There are differences in every reaction. ADP comes in contact or get attached with inorganic phosphate and produces ATP. This is general reaction. ATP is produced by reaction between ADP and inorganic phosphate. That's why I have written IP. In both of these reactions, in both of these pathways, this reaction is common. But when this reaction happens without involvement of oxygen, if this reaction happens without involvement of oxygen, it is known as surface level phosphorylation. But if reaction is happened with involvement of oxygen, it is known as oxidative phosphorylation. So first of all, I would like to mention that this electron transport chain comes under the oxidative phosphorylation category. This TCA glycolysis are required to run electron transport chain. So let's see how do we can study about ATP formation through glycolysis and electron transport chain. This is very introductory lecture. I am not going to highlight any detailed part of this reaction, but try to understand whatever I am trying to say. This is cell, a typical eukaryotic cell. This cell contain or shows the compartmentalization. Eukaryotic cell has a property of compartmentalization. What do you mean by compartmentalization? Means there are various compartments. One compartment shows chromosome is present. In another compartment you have chloroplast is present. Another chlorophyll pigment is present. Another compartment where you have, you can say, mitochondria perform its role. So this compartment is known as mitochondria. This compartment is known as chloroplast. This compartment is known as nucleus. Various compartments are there. It is known as compartmentalization. Okay. So this is cell in which, in a cytoplasm, glycolysis always and always carry out. Glycolysis always happens in cytoplasm. So this is a cytoplasm which is a fluid present inside a cell. This glycolysis is dependent on glucose 100%. If particular cell is not having glucose at that time, what happens? For example, that cell having mannose available. That mannose will be converted into glucose for glycolysis process. Remember this. There is no separate cycle for mannose. Mannose has to get converted into glucose. So what is glucose? Glucose is 6 carbon chain molecule. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 carbon chain molecule. In which you will notice this glucose is aldehyde. Means what? The first carbon is carbonyl group and rest of the carbons are in a chain. This glucose is always present for maximum time in hexagonal state, which you must have studied. That this structure is known as hemiacetal of glucose. This is linear chain of glucose, this is hemiacetal of glucose. That does not matter to study glycolysis, but you have to understand this. This glucose is 6 chain carbon molecules. Okay. So what happens in a glycolysis is very essential to understand. This 6 carbon glucose is getting activated by adding phosphorus into it. So glucose is normal now. That glucose don't know what is going to happen with him or her or it. So that glucose is getting activated by adding phosphorus. So phosphorus is generally added at 6 carbons. So that's why it is known as glucose 6 phosphate. There are 6 carbons. No. At 6th carbon phosphorus is going to attached. That's why it's glucose 6 phosphate. Then you have some steps. Then you will notice this glucose is going to break down into two groups. Initially it was 6 carbon unit. Now it is having 3 carbon in separate unit and 3 carbon separate unit. This is a glyceraldehyde. Glyceraldehyde phosphate, and this one is dihydroxy acetal phosphate. I am writing shortcut. Dihydroxy acetal phosphate and glyceraldehyde phosphate are the two 3 carbon units are formed by breaking 6 carbon glucose. This is very easy. 6 carbon glucose is now going to break in this way. So you will notice there is a difference. These 3 units are looking different than these 3 units. Obviously. So these 3 units are going to form dihydroxyacetone phosphate and these 3 units are going to form glyceraldehyde phosphate. Okay. Dihydroxyacetone are not accessible. So that's why this dihydroxyacetone phosphate are going to convert into glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. So now you have 2 glyceraldehyde. Obviously, dihydroxyacetone phosphate is useless at this time. That's why it is need to be converted into glyceraldehyde. Okay. So this glyceraldehyde is, we have 2 glyceraldehyde. Each glyceraldehyde is going to be converted into final product that is known as pyruvate. Please understand this. Pyruvate is the ultimate end product of glycolysis. Glycolysis ends with pyruvate formation. This pyruvate is 3 carbon unit. Try to understand this. This is very easy if you focus. First we have talked about glycolysis where glucose was the substrate and pyruvate is the product. Now things are getting interesting here. So here we have compartmentalization. Here one organelle is present whose name is mitochondria. Mitochondria is located here. Mitochondria's specialty is that its inner membrane is wavy, like this way. Okay. So pyruvate is a product of glycolysis, cannot directly enter into mitochondria. Pyruvate, which is the product, have you understood this? Glycolysis produces this pyruvate, cannot directly go inside mitochondria. So what is the simple step? Pyruvate is 3 carbon unit. 1 carbon is getting removed from pyruvate and remaining 2 carbons are attached with coenzyme A. I will rewrite it. 2 carbons are going to attach with coenzyme A. These 2 carbon units are known as acetyl. So you have acetyl CoA, which is nothing but 2 carbon compound. So now it's very easy. 1 carbon has been removed, 1 carbon passed away, and 2 carbon units remain with the acetyl CoA. This acetyl CoA is having entry inside mitochondria directly. Once acetyl coenzyme A enter into the mitochondria, you will notice. I will highlight mitochondria in a bigger state now. So it was a complete eukaryotic cell in which you have mitochondria. This mitochondria having inner membrane and outer membrane. The chemical or liquid which is present inside this mitochondria, this is known as matrix. Okay, so we have 2 carbon unit which is known as acetyl CoA entered inside the mitochondria. Very good. So this 2 carbon unit is now going to react with 4 carbon unit which is already present in mitochondria. That 4 carbon unit is known as oxaloacetate. Oxaloacetate is 4 carbon unit which is already present in mitochondria matrix. Remember this. So this 2 carbon unit and 6 carbon unit are going to react with each other, and what will be the result? 6 carbon unit which is known as citrate. So first product in tris carboxylic acid is formation of citrate. That's why it is known as citric acid cycle. So if I need to draw this cycle in a separate manner, I will write in this way: 2 carbon unit acetyl COA comes in a contact with oxaloacetic acid which is 4 carbon unit, resulting into citric acid which is 6 carbon. This citric acid is going to rearrange itself and produces isocitrate. This isocitrate is nothing but 6 carbon rearranged citric acid. This isocitrate also having 6 carbon. Out of them 1 carbon will leave and 5 carbon compound is remaining which is known as succinic acid. Sorry. What succinic acid? Known as alpha ketoglutaric acid which is 5 carbon. Because 1 carbon already left, now you have 1 carbon left, 4 carbon succinic acid, then rearrangement 4 carbon fumaric acid, and then this rearrangement takes place and produces 4 carbon oxaloacetate. This oxaloacetate will remain inside the matrix of mitochondria. That's what I am saying. So while doing this, you will notice that 2 carbon has been left. 6 carbon were present, 4 carbon are remaining. These 2 carbons were coming from acetyl CoA. So 1 carbon left and resulting product is front of you. So okay, we have seen 2 reactions. I have not talked about any detail of these reactions. I have just general talk. So now we have completed, which result into TCA cycle completed. So what happened next is very important, is that in mitochondria you have this membrane structure. This is mitochondria. What happened when glycolysis happens? You have NADPH plus H plus electron carrier formation takes place. In TCA cycle you have NADPH plus H plus and FADH2 electron carrier formation takes place. First of all, you have to understand the concept of electron carrier. What do you mean by electron carrier? Electron carrier are those molecules who carries electron, who takes electron from other molecule. In order to take electron, this molecule initially must be empty. So that's why they are taking electron. So this electron carrier were acting in these 2 steps, now acting as electron donor. So what happens? In mitochondria you have 4 complexes present. Complex number 1, complex number 2, complex number 4. So these are the complexes present in mitochondria. Listen carefully. These complexes pump proton into intermembrane space. Outer membrane, inner membrane. So proton is present in matrix of mitochondria. Proton from matrix of mitochondria are now getting pumped between 2 membranes, intermembrane space. So these complexes are performing this role. What they are doing? They are pumping proton from matrix to intermembrane space. What will happen? You will notice the concentration of proton in intermembrane space will increase. Yes or no? Yes. The concentration of proton in intermembrane space is going to increase. So why? So how this happens? These complexes are taking energy from NADPH and FADH2. NADPH and FADH2 are working as agent who are helping these complexes to pump proton in intermembrane space. But why that mitochondria is doing this? The answer is very simple. In this mitochondria there is a one big machine present. That machine is located on the inner membrane whose name is ATP synthase. That machine is known as ATP synthase. That is machine actually a complex protein. What happens? These protons are accumulated in intermembrane space. Only have one point from where they can exit intermembrane space, and that point is from the bottom of ATP synthase enzyme. While doing so, when proton escape intermembrane space to the matrix, they rotate the head of ATP synthase enzyme. So it is very dramatic and like a picture or movie. That head of ATP synthase twisted. While doing this, this ATP synthase produces ATP by using ADP and inorganic phosphate as a substrate and produces ATP. They produces ATP, that's why they are known as ATP synthase. There is a difference in concept of ATP synthase and ATP synthetase. We will discuss about it later. But try to understand this. Intermembrane space is full with the proton. This proton are getting escape from intermembrane space to matrix from ATP synthase enzyme. Please listen again and again whatever I am trying to tell you, and ATP formation takes place. So these NADPH plus H plus FADH2 are known as electron carrier. These are electron carrier. They are carrying electron from TCA cycle and glycolysis, and they are donating electron here. And ultimately, the electron acceptor is oxygen, who comes in a picture and receives electron in a pair and produces water. So we will discuss later about it in a detail. Just remember that the final electron acceptor in electron transport chain is oxygen, who receives electron and order formation takes place. Electron donor are NADPH plus H plus FADH2, electron acceptor oxygen. Electron are migrating from complex 1 to complex 2, complex 3 to complex 4 and to oxygen. So electron are migrating from 1, 2, 3, 4 to oxygen. That's why it is known as electron transport chain, ETC. Ultimate aim of this was formation of ATP. And who is involved here? Oxygen. That's why it is known as oxidative phosphorylation. So phosphorylation means addition of phosphorus. In this ADP, we are adding phosphate group. That's why ATP formation takes place. That is phosphorylation. ATP formation takes place. Oxygen involved. That is oxidative phosphorylation. In this way, we have seen a general scenario of glycolysis, TCA, and electron transport chain with aiming of formation of ATP. In this way, we have just discussed the overview. We haven't studied or talked about in a detailed internal part. So thank you for your time. We will meet in the next part in a detailed section. Thank you.